After Mom passed, I thought things would settle slowly, until Dad sat me down one night, looked me straight in the eyes and said, "I need you to do something for me, something no doctor ever told me about." What he asked changed everything I knew about grief, aging and health. And now, I want you to know the truth before it's too late. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give us a like, and let us know where you're watching from in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. It all started on a cloudy Tuesday morning. The hospital room was cold, sterile, and eerily quiet. My mom had just passed away from a long battle with heart failure. Her body, tired and fragile, had fought a silent war against hypertension and diabetes for years, both of which had slowly but steadily damaged her heart. As I stood beside her lifeless body, the beeping monitors turned off, and the nurses quietly left the room, I realized something terrifying. I didn't really know what had killed her. Yes, the doctor said congestive heart failure, but what led to that? Could we have prevented it? My dad, a 62-year-old retired mechanic, sat in silence. He didn't cry. He didn't speak. He just stared at her hands that had cooked him dinner every night for 35 years. But deep inside, something was stirring, and I would find out what it was just days later. 3 nights after the funeral, Dad called me into the living room. He seemed restless, like he hadn't slept in days. "Son, I don't want to end up like your mother." I nodded, expecting a grieving statement. But then he leaned forward. "I want you to help me get checked. Everything. Blood, heart, liver, kidneys. I need to know if I'm next. And if I am, I want to fight it." That was the moment I realized. Most people only care about their health when it's too late. My dad, who had never seen a doctor unless he was bleeding, suddenly wanted a full-body screening. And honestly, it was the smartest thing he could have done. Lightbulb health education point, soft insert. Many chronic diseases, including heart failure, kidney problems, and diabetes, can be detected early through simple blood tests, ECGs, or physical checkups. But in many families, especially after losing a loved one, it becomes a wake-up call to finally take action. Don't wait until grief forces your hand. Preventive health screening could literally save your life. The very next morning, I booked a comprehensive health screening for my dad at a private clinic. I didn't expect much. He looked relatively healthy for his age. No belly fat, still active, no complaints of pain or fatigue. But deep down, I knew that appearances could be deceiving. We arrived at the clinic and Dad went through a full panel. Blood tests, ECG, urinalysis, liver and kidney function tests, cholesterol profile, and even an abdominal ultrasound. He was silent through it all, occasionally squeezing my hand. I could tell he was nervous. 3 days later, the results came in. "Sir," the doctor said calmly, "your kidney function is slightly reduced, and your blood sugar levels are in the diabetic range." I blinked. "Wait, what? Diabetes?" The doctor nodded, then showed us the numbers. Fasting blood glucose at 148 milligrams per deciliter, and HbA1c at 7.2%. His estimated glomerular filtration rate, eGFR, a key marker for kidney function, was 62, just slightly above the threshold for chronic kidney disease. Dad was stunned. "But I don't feel anything. I've never even felt sick." And that's when the doctor explained something that most people don't understand. Type 2 diabetes and kidney disease are silent for years. By the time symptoms show up, like fatigue, swelling, or frequent urination, your organs have already been under attack. I looked at my dad, realizing that if he hadn't asked for that screening, we would have never known. It could have been just a matter of months or a few years before the damage became irreversible. The doctor continued with a soft but firm voice. "You're lucky. We caught this early. But from here on, everything has to change, your diet, your daily habits, and we'll need to monitor you closely." It felt surreal. My tough, stoic father, who had never counted calories or read a nutrition label in his life, was now officially diabetic and at risk of chronic kidney disease. But instead of breaking down, he said something I didn't expect. "Tell me what to do. I don't want to die the same way your mother did." Stethoscope health education point, soft insert. Type 2 diabetes often goes undetected because the early signs, like increased thirst or blurred vision, are subtle or even absent. If left untreated, it can lead to complications like kidney failure, nerve damage, heart disease, and blindness. Annual screenings, especially after age 40 or with a family history, are essential. Early detection can add decades to your life. The next morning after receiving the diagnosis, my dad sat down with a blank stare as he looked over the meal I had cooked. White rice, fried chicken, and sweet soy sauce, our usual comfort food. "We can't eat like this anymore, can we?" he asked quietly. I nodded. No, Dad. Not if we want to fight this. And just like that, we started clearing the kitchen. One by one, the items went into a black plastic bag. Sugary drinks, instant noodles, canned meats, cooking oil that had been reused far too many times, and even that secret stash of sweet crackers he always kept in the top drawer. It wasn't just a diet change, it was a full-on war against decades of habits. Dad looked at the bags of food like he was saying goodbye to old friends. Then came the hardest part, adjusting what we could eat. I printed out a sample diabetic-friendly meal plan. Brown rice or quinoa instead of white rice. Grilled fish or steamed chicken. Lots of vegetables, especially greens. No added sugar, no deep frying. Snacks? Only nuts, fruit, or plain yogurt. Dad sighed. You're telling me I've got to give up nasi goreng forever? I laughed. Not forever. Just not every day. And definitely not with that sweet ketchup. At first, the transition was rough. His body craved sugar. His mood swung like a pendulum. He even snapped at me a few times during the first week. But then something happened. After just 10 days of sticking to the plan, he said he felt lighter. Not physically, but mentally. I didn't realize how sluggish I've been all these years, he admitted. It's like a fog is lifting. We began walking every morning. Just 15 minutes at first, around the neighborhood. He carried a small bottle of water and a fitness tracker I bought him online. Slowly, his steps got steadier, his mood brighter. But what touched me most was this. One evening, I saw him watching an old video of Mom cooking. He was teary-eyed but smiling. I think she'd be proud, he whispered. Green salad health education point, soft insert. Lifestyle change is the cornerstone of managing diabetes and protecting kidney function. Reducing processed carbs, eliminating added sugars, and adopting regular physical activity, even light walking, can dramatically improve blood glucose control and cardiovascular health. Sustainable habits matter more than short-term diets. The first month went by faster than we expected. Dad was adjusting. His blood sugar started to drop slightly, his energy improved, and the morning walks became our daily ritual. But real healing, I would learn, doesn't just happen in the body. It happens in the mind. One night, I found Dad sitting alone at the kitchen table. The lights were off except for the refrigerator's soft glow. He had an old photograph in his hand, Mom's last birthday. She begged me to go with her to the doctor last year, he whispered. I told her we couldn't afford it. Said she was just tired like everyone else our age. His voice cracked. What if I had listened? That night, the strong, quiet man who had built our home with his bare hands, who had never let me see him cry, finally broke down. I sat beside him in silence. No lecture, no advice. Just presence. Because sometimes, the most powerful healing begins when we stop pretending we're okay. The next day his motivation disappeared. He didn't want to walk. He barely touched his breakfast. He sat in front of the TV for hours. The spark was gone. What's the point? He mumbled. Even if I live longer, she's not here. This is something we rarely talk about in health education. Grief is a health issue too. Depression after the death of a spouse is common, especially among older adults. Left untreated, it can worsen chronic conditions, destroy motivation, and undo all progress. I reached out to a local support group. At first, Dad refused. I don't want to sit with a bunch of strangers talking about feelings, he grunted. But a week later he agreed to try. That meeting changed something. Hearing other men, some much older than him, share similar regrets, similar struggles, it lifted the weight he thought he had to carry alone. And when he returned, he didn't say much. He just opened the fridge, pulled out the grilled fish and said, "Let's eat clean tonight." That was his way of choosing life. Brain health education point, soft insert. Mental health plays a critical role in chronic disease management. Depression and grief can directly impact blood sugar control, medication adherence, and lifestyle choices. Seniors especially need emotional support after losing a spouse. Encourage open conversations and consider support groups or therapy. Healing is not just physical, it's emotional too. 3 months had passed since Dad's full-body screening and the shocking diagnosis that followed. In that time, we transformed not just his habits, but his heart. He no longer feared vegetables. He even learned to cook his own low-sodium Sayer Benning. Morning walks became 30-minute power strides. His once skeptical attitude toward health monitoring turned into a weekly routine of checking blood pressure, sugar levels, and even keeping a journal of his meals. But the real test came with his second lab results. We were back in the doctor's office, and this time, Dad walked in confidently. The doctor smiled as he looked at the screen. "Mr. Harsono," he said, Your fasting blood sugar is now at 103 milligrams per deciliter. Your HbA1c has dropped to 6.2%. And your kidney function has stabilized. I let out a breath I didn't even know I was holding. The doctor continued, "You're not cured. There is no cure for diabetes. But right now you are in control. That's what matters." Dad looked at me, then at the floor. "I wish your mother was here to see this." Silence. Then, slowly, he reached into his bag and pulled out a letter. He handed it to me. "Read it," he said. It was addressed to me, written in his neat, scratchy handwriting. Inside, he talked about how losing Mom woke him up. How he had ignored his health for too long. How he wished he had asked for help sooner. And at the very end, he made a promise. "From now on, I will do everything I can to stay healthy, for you, for her memory, and for every family out there who thinks it's too late to change." That day, he signed up to speak at his first local community health talk. He wanted to share his journey, not as a doctor but as a man who waited too long and got a second chance. He ended his talk with these words: "You don't need to be sick to see a doctor. You don't need a funeral to change your life. Learn from me. Act now before someone you love becomes your wake-up call." Red Heart Final Health Education Point, soft insert. Preventive care is not just about living longer, it's about living better. Lifestyle changes, emotional healing, and routine checkups can turn the tide even after years of unhealthy habits. Early intervention saves lives. Be proactive. Get screened. Don't wait for a tragedy to force your hand. And that is the story of how losing my mom became the start of saving my dad. We often wait until something breaks, our body, our spirit, or our hearts, before we seek help. But what if we didn't wait? What if we listened to the warning signs early? What if we treated every day as a second chance? My dad isn't a superhero. He's a man who made mistakes. But more importantly, he chose to change. If you're watching this and wondering whether you should go for that checkup, change that diet, or finally take your health seriously, don't wait. Speech Balloon, share this video with someone you love. Envelope with arrow, talk to your parents, your spouse, your siblings. Hospital, book that screening. Fork and knife with plate, clean up your kitchen. Brain, take care of your mind. Because healing isn't just medicine, it's intention. Let this story be your wake-up call, before it becomes your regret.